Hello everyone, Floppy Waffle 69 here, and today I figured we'd take a look at the Molotov cocktail, do a little ship review on her, kind of give you my thoughts and opinions and kind of how I play her and how I think she is now. Pretty old boat, the Molotov cocktail here. She's been in the game frick since the dawn of time. Let's be honest here. Very old ship, but I know that her doubloon price in the premium shop, being on the lower side, and it's a measly tier 6, might be an option for most players. So I said, why the hell not? Let's kind of dig deep on her. The Molotov is an interesting boat. You got 3x3 180 millimeter guns. These are the same guns that I believe you get on Kurov, but a little bit different, maybe. So I didn't dig too deep on it with the shelf life time, the drag coefficient, etc. on her. Just know that you basically have Kirov guns, potentially Dmitry Donskoy guns, but you get 9 of them. So I guess 180 millimeters, not bad given the fact that most ships have the 152 millimeter light cruiser guns, with a few exceptions do having the 203 millimeter heavy cruiser guns. So this is in between that light heavy era of cruiser. I would still designate it as a light cruiser. Then again, so is the Nevsky. You all know about that ship's AP potential, right? So kind of similar. It gets the Soviet treatment of the light cruiser. So those 180 millimeter rifles go 15.5 kilometers, which is not bad, with a reload of 12 and a half seconds with a Sigma of 2.0. Not bad. Definitely not bad guns, that's for sure. These things can definitely dish out the pain, that's for sure. Her HE shells are coming in at 2500 damage with 30 millimeter pen, and her fire percent chance is at a 13% fire chance. Not bad, not anything to write home about. Pretty standard, right? This thing will, at least I found her to definitely set more fires than not. But again, that's just me. I don't know. Interesting. Maybe you'll have a different opinion on her when you play her or pick her up, but that's just my opinion on her. A is pretty dog shit. 4 kilometers is her long range with a 22 DPS. Medium range is 3.2 kilometers with 161 DPS, and her short range is 1.5 kilometers, 42 DPS with a flak of 1. Yeah, you're not going to be stopping any strikes here. I think the only thing after the aircraft strikes you once, maybe you'll shoot down a plane or two, and then he's coming in for round 2, and then maybe then he'll be done. I don't know, but yeah, your A is pretty dog shit, so definitely don't rely on that. This thing does have torpedoes, typical Soviet fashion, 4 kilometer torps. That's 2x3 533 millimeter torp tubes. Range going about 4 kilometers. Damage coming in or clocking in at 14,400. 70-second reload on those torps with a speed of 65 knots. I mean, I would say you have torps, but just don't rely on the torps, right? But yeah, what about the Molotov? What makes her special? Well, to sum it up, frankly, folks, is that right there. The AP pen on these guns, the accuracy on the guns, at least I find the accuracy to be pretty damn good, is definitely a selling point for this thing. This thing can punish broadsides at its max range. Typical, like maybe back in the day, the Moskva can do that. Petropavlovsk obviously is more broad, but it can do that still. So typical Soviet AP on these laser beams, sending down range. At a tier 6, that's not bad. So given that the line has 152 millimeter guns at the Boutonnier, and I think it was the Kotovsky has 152s, right? So like, this is a selling point for this thing, is those 180 millimeter guns, just like the Kirov has at tier 5, right? But yeah, great guns on the Molotov, as you saw there on that poor Harbin. I don't know what that guy was doing, but wow. So basically, when you have that shell velocity and speed, you're basically hitting your shells more often than not. As long as your aim's good, you're going to see some examples of shit aim later on. But I definitely was able to pinpoint my location on those shells and able to take down the targets, which is great. That's a big selling point on this thing. Also, you can see utilizing my torpedoes to see if the ship is accelerating or still reversing, which is a great tool to be using at any ship that has torps. Let's be honest. So, but yeah, some more things about this particular boat here is the health pool is kind of a measly 28,400, which is ranked 18th of all cruisers. I believe the first coming in is the Graf Spee, which is on a whole different level of its own, right? With a heel at this tier and whatnot. So, I mean, Yeah, it's definitely not good. Not to mention the ship is completely made out of paper. I'm not 100% sure on how much armor you have in this thing. I think it's like 100 millimeters Citadel. Yeah, so you're just food with a 16 millimeter nose and ass. So battleships love to shoot at you. And that'd be my recommendation entirely is you're engaging battleships at range with that spotter. Every time a battleship shoots you, you better just dodge all the shells because if any shell hits you, there is a good chance that it is going to be overmatching you everywhere and citadeling you because your citadel is long, above the water, exposed, and only 100 millimeters. So definitely try to avoid getting shot in this thing for sure. Detection is 12.76 kilometers, which is coming in at ninth. Definitely higher up there, right? Definitely going to be able to see this thing. Battleships are going to want to take a bite out of you because you have no armor, like I was just talking about. You're going to see some examples of that later on too. It's this thing just it cannot tank. It can try and dodge the best it can, only at range with rudder juking and whatnot. But yeah, this thing you'll see it's incredibly glass canoe like. Top speed is 36 knots, which is awesome. That is a great speed. I think you're top in the charts up there. You're definitely one of the best with the speed of 36 knots. And thank God, no speed boost on a cruiser. Oh my God, who would have thought? Yeah, you don't need a speed boost. Thank God, Wargaming. Note to you, we don't need to keep getting the game faster, right? Rudder shift coming in at 7.8 seconds, which is pretty bad, but not as bad as the turning circle radius at 860 meters, which is worse at this tier. It is god awful. This thing turns like an absolute truck. I don't even know. Maybe some battleships turn better. I have to double check my math on that or some data on that. But yeah, this thing definitely cannot turn very well. So this thing is, yeah, you better be off detection before you try to disengage because you will not be able to outturn. At least I don't believe so. Even if the 30-second salvo comes in at you, you're still going to be eating absolute damage from battleships and some heavy cruisers, right? So, but yeah, the Molotov, yeah, it's a fun boat, low tier fun boat, and I figured why not do a little bit of like a review kind of inspection on her on low tier ships too. I mean, hey, low tier exists. I know it's not very popular with a lot of players in the game. I'm not quite sure why. I think there's definitely a lot of fun to be had at low tier. I mean, some of my div mates and I, we have a blast just shooting the shit at low tier. Um, Definitely fun. I don't know why, but I guess because it's stale or whatever. But I know with the recent waterline of 2025 that Wargaming released, they're going down to lower tier. But again, I think this is what tier six. This is more middle, and they're ready to do some rebalancing stuff or whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what they actually do to kind of revitalize that low tier kind of gameplay. Because right now it is. Oof, you have to really enjoy it or be in a mood to fuck around to be playing low tier. That's for sure. But yeah, I have two games to show you here. Kind of just gonna talk over in the and let you watch the footage in the background, kind of show you kind of what this thing does. I mean, it's definitely not perfect gameplay, but it definitely should highlight what the Molotov can do. Loading AP here, pretty much a little bit under max range on a broadside Yarsfeld, who's too fixated on the on targets, and we boop them for Citadel. I mean, it's this thing can definitely punish enemy cruisers, and I think that's where this ship excels, is engaging enemy cruisers for sure. I would say definitely avoid battleships. Unless you're at max range, HE spamming them, but definitely can't be soloing them, that's for sure. It's definitely good at shooting destroyers with the HE alpha on this thing, which is what coming in at 2500, which again is not terrible for this tier. And especially with the laser beam like shells, you're going to be hitting more often than not if your aim's somewhat good. So definitely recommend doing that, helping out your DDs and eliminating the targets best to your abilities. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I feel like tier six is one of those weird tiers. I know tier five always gets brutalized with the matchmaker getting up tier to tier seven games all the time, but I find like tier six is kind of like that sweet spot. Whereas like I find myself getting to tier seven games, but I definitely don't find myself getting into tier eight games as much, which is awesome. I this is a little bit of an exception though because I wanted to show you what the ship is kind of like playing her at when you're bottom tier against tier eights, and then the next game I'm showing you, believe when she's top tier. But one thing I found with the Molotov is that she doesn't do it. She's not a good damage primer. Like I don't get high damage games with her. I mean, I'm breaking like anywhere between like 80 to 100k. But I find like she gets effective damage, like against like the Yarsfeld here and whatnot, like with the Citadel hits. Like she's definitely more about the, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but I just find her more of like the Alpha Strike potential on her, on that meaningful damage. It's kind of like where I excel with her, rather than kind of just habitually throwing HE shells down range and just setting battleships on fire nonstop. Like it's interesting, right? Like how the ship is, what she can do, and how she can play. So, but like going over captain builds per se about and like kind of what I think how the captain build and the upgrades should be. Like my captain build is going to be different than I think what the majority of the player base would recommend, and that just comes down to the 100 millimeter gun found on these Russian cruisers. Like I take IFHE. So I'll put the captain build here on the screen so everyone can see. Like I take IFHE on my Molotov because I don't know, upping it from 30 millimeters to 37, like you're not like you're crossing some notable thresholds with the 32 when you get up tier to tier 8 games like this. So I can definitely damage battleships, but at the cost of my fire. But then with taking the 2 flags, I believe I get my fire chance back over like 7 to 8, something like around there. Because it only has, wait, what, 6.5 if you cut it down. So like for me, I think it's a great skill for specific ships. Like I'm not taking on all my light cruisers because I'd rather roll the die with the RNG with fire, especially when I'm a high DPM light cruiser rather than like a cruiser that relies more. It has a slower rate and relies more on damage per minute rather than damage per second. If that makes sense. It's kind of confusing with all the DPM and DPSs, but basically it makes sense. The more you play, you'll understand. How you do it. Like obviously in my I've seen different takes on it. Like some of my div mates use on their Wooster, they use IFHE, which is like I'm completely against, given the fact that how much you're throwing shit down range and how often I'm at least hitting the target with my aim. Like why would I want to cut that in half when the fire chance is insane, right? So when I'm throwing shit down range with 12 and a half seconds, like I just feel like I'm worrying more about that alpha. I want to get that damage on the penetration than I would be with a faster firing ship. So enough confusion on that. And then going on what I recommend for like the generic captain build of this ship for a 21 point commander, if you manage that, because I know some people like float commanders around. Again, I do not do that. I think that's kind of a bullshit thing that I'd rather just have a captain dedicated to it. If I need to work on a commander, yeah, I'll float a commander down for a captain point or two, and then I'll put him back up, and he'll never see the ship again. But mainly, like I keep my captains per that ship, with the exception of some ships that obviously I just didn't have a commander at the time, so I just floated one. So, but anyways. Yeah, like no, like this is it's an interesting ship, right? It's a little fun kind of break for me. Like when I go down and I want to play tier 6, tier 5, anywhere around there, like I always have myself gravitating towards the Molotov just because I actually find her playstyle super fun. It's pretty unique for this tier. And that's why I like the Kirov too at tier 5. Like I find like you have these cruisers that can absolutely nip enemy cruiser citadels. But are very susceptible to battleships. But then again, like you could always pick up the argument as battleships will absolutely shit on any cruiser at this tier because, as we all know, cruisers from like tier fucking 4 to tier 7 just explode even when you look at it. And we're starting to see that problem creep into higher tiers now because overmatch, we just keep getting more and more overmatch, which is a fucking joke in my opinion. But whatever, like the only way to stay relevant now in a cruiser is if you have a smoke screen or a super heal or something. Like it just fucking bonkers to me. I don't understand the thought process there. Like, especially all these cruisers coming out, like the Jinon getting buffed, the Incheon, like, Sybaris line, like it's all smokescreen shit. It's like, how is that fun to play against? And it gets really stale and boring too. Like as a player who considers himself a cruiser main or like really enjoys their cruisers, like it's just like it's a dime a dozen. I don't want to play all those ships. I definitely like my playtime in those ships are not as fun. Like even the Minotaur, like I'm definitely running Raider Mino because I think it has more impact on the game, especially when you're playing single. Like in a div, yeah, maybe I'll go in a smoke Mino with my div mates, but like even then, like why would you not want to bring a Radar and have that ability, especially support my destroyers or eliminate the enemy DD right off the get-go? Like all you have to do is have a brain and some hands and understand the game, and feel like you can actually do decent with her. But I digress or whatever. So. But yeah, the Molotov, yeah, I see that the obviously there's consumable layout there on the bottom. I talk a little bit about those. I mean, don't take defensive AA. I don't know why you would. I just went over the AA stats, which are garbage. I mean, 4 kilometer your long range, you're throwing up one flak. Like, oh my God, as an aircraft carrier, if you're not dodging one flak, then are you even human? So definitely take Hydro. It's going to be more relevant to you in the way the ship plays, especially with its turning circle radius and its detection at this tier. Especially another thing I find, especially for cruisers, they were really like debating whether or not to go defensive or hydro. I'd say when in doubt, go hydro, and it's not even because of the way the meta is or anything like that. I would just say it's because plain and simple, submarines are introduced into the tech tree at tier 6, and everyone tries tier 6, right? So like, why would you not have the only available counter? And calling it a counter is kind of like, wow, it's not really a counter, but ability to detect a sub that's at periscope or below you at 2 kilometers. Like, yeah, like why would you not want to bring that? I mean, I understand CVs come in at tier 4, which CV tier 4 CVs are kind of a joke anyways, but like they're just annoying. And then you have tier 6 CVs are kind of a joke too. In the essence that that AA at this tier is non-existent, especially I'm talking about like tier 6 and down, right? When they're top tier. So yeah, I'd rather deal with the destroyers than dealing with the aircraft carrier, especially with a ship that has I mean, how much was this? Like 161 DPS for a mid-range? Like that's all I got with 3.2 kilometer range, 4 kilometer range. I'm rocking at 22 DPS. Like this thing ain't gonna be shooting down shit. Like, I mean, this thing is going to be struggling to shoot down an enemy spotter plane. And I mean, if you're even that close to an enemy ship who has a spotter plane, you're probably playing the ship incredibly wrong. And that's what I'm trying to illustrate here by the way you're seeing in the background footage, like how she's plays. Like, I don't push. Like here at the end here, like realistically, like the reason I'm only push is because I want to eliminate the enemy DD, which is drastically going to increase our chance, likelihood of winning. But like right now, like I'm pushing into a battleship with the Hyuga that can overmatch me, and I'm pushing into a crossfire with the North Carolina who can absolutely devastatingly strike me. So it's like this is probably not what you want to do, but I've already found myself in this situation just because I wanted to go and put pressure on that enemy destroyer to eliminate him. So, but yeah, I mean, especially when you're going against tier 7 and tier 8s, like especially battleships, like you just don't want to be pushing into them. I think that would be just asking to get nuked through your nose. Like it's ridiculous. So. But yeah, trying to use the smoke screen to disengage here. So thank you, destroyer. Just gonna turn back around and try not to shoot because I know the North Carolina's gonna be flying around and yeah, obviously why would you not want to shoot the full HP broadside 100 millimeter cruiser, right? So I'm kind of in a tough situation here, making sure I don't beach either. I mean, I'm like right at 11.5 too, which is my detection, which is crazy. Thank God I didn't get caught. But thank God for that speed, man. I'm telling you, that is the redeeming feature of this thing, other than her guns, is the speed this thing can full send. It's great. So I definitely like that. But then again, you have to be conscientious of that, especially early game, because it can get you into trouble. I know a lot of players have that problem with like the tier 10 Castilla. That ship is fast as fuck, and that ship will just because you're going so fast, it can get you into some trouble, right? You don't realize how much ground you're covering, so you got to be careful with that. So yeah. But anyways, yeah. I mean, what I would recommend for this ship, like this ship it's a blast. Like I thoroughly believe that this ship is a super fun little ship. And again, like touching on what I kind of touched base off in the beginning of the video, like why am I reviewing a tier 6? Well, I see a lot of content creators, they kind of only stay to top tier, which again is perfectly fine. Like I don't blame them. I think the gameplay at top tier is way more intriguing, even though now I think it's kind of stale. So sometimes I like to take a break and kind of bounce back and forth and whatnot. But yeah, like it's just incredibly stale. So why not go down to tier 6 and enjoy yourself for a little bit? So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at the second game, right? I mean, look at that, 126,000. Hell yeah. So anyways, we're looking at the tier 6, or sorry, the second game now. And this is going to be a little bit different. I'm in with one of my div mates here, Sniper, and we are top tier. So you're going to see, like, you definitely play it similar. I mean, I'm definitely not going to be pushing again in this thing. That's just stupid. That's suicide. But yeah, like I have to read the situation and plan accordingly. So you're going to see the difference. You're in a div, and I'm in a div with the destroyer, which is super awesome, super helpful. So I'm going to be able to support him a lot with that, with trading enemy DDs because of my rifles on this thing. but at the same time, you know, I have to make sure I know especially where the enemy battleships are, so I don't sail around and get absolutely destroyed and blown up, because that's not going to help my team out. Being an absolute pigeon when you're a top tier cruiser is definitely not what you want to do. I'm thinking about down the road making a video on like kind of like cruisers and helping cruisers out mostly, because I feel like cruisers and destroyers are just so criminally misplayed half the time, especially in lower tier when people are first learning the game. Cruisers being number one. How many times have we seen the Omahas and the Emeralds just go freaking humming in the cap and just absolutely eviscerate because everyone shoots them like it's just free food? I think it's ridiculous, but you know, again, I don't blame them entirely, because it's like bottom tier, you know, you're playing the Phoenix at that point, and you know, this St. Louis and all this stuff. It's like, it's not teaching you how to be ready for that next jump. So hopefully now we're in a wargaming on that waterline tease that they're gonna like make a more tutorial system whatnot with using low tier operations and whatnot, which I think is a great idea. So that helps people out a little bit more before they make that next jump. So, but like, here's a prime example. I mean, I was just talking about it. Like, what it's like, I understand like he's not quite in the cap yet, but he has to know he's detected clearly, and I just don't understand what he's doing. Like, why? Like, at what point you say, you know what, I'm gonna turn around? It's definitely questionable, and so is my aim. But it's like, it just baffles me, man. It just absolutely baffles me. I think Omaha's tried to be first-blooded almost every game, so yeah, just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. So as you can see, like where I started this game off, like obviously I didn't know what was spotted, I didn't know what was coming here. My div mate went in, so I pre-kited. I'm in a pre-kited position. Like, I mean, this is pretty standard for most cruisers, I would say. Too bad I didn't have armor piercing loaded there, by the way, because I would have been a bye-bye Omaha first blood. But yeah, so I can basically tuck tail and run here while firing my guns on this guy. So that's kind of, you know, typical. Love riding, you know, humping the border here too. It's a good strategy. Don't actually do that. It's stupid, and hopefully Wargaming does something down the road with that, because we all have that one player just humping the border for a minute, and it's like, come on, dude, like instant report. So yeah, you know, trying to pick off that Omaha at range. I mean, finally he turned around only after, you know, 7/8 or more of his HP is gone, so that's, you know, a little too late. But you know, you have the Ashen Core coming in here, which is gonna be great. I'm definitely licking my chops on that. It's definitely, you know, can't wait to set that guy on fire. I mean, I understand he wants to get his secondaries involved, but again, like, kind of like understand what you're pushing into, dude. Like, come on. Pop my spotter here, extend my range, do the old like turret by turret shot here, make sure I hit that Omaha, get him out of the game. We end up picking him up, which is awesome. So, but yeah, I mean, imagine if he still had his HP, like, crazy. So that was great. The man, like the DPM that thing can shoot, and you know, like the gun turret layout, like that thing, yeah, criminally misplayed. The Omaha, criminally misplayed. So yeah, definitely. Another thing I want to talk about is I don't know. I think it's you get the spotter, or can you get the fighter as well? I think you get a spotter. Like, please, just get the spotter. The spotter is just vastly gonna help your ship and buff your ship in multiple ways, as you're seeing right now. And speaking of which, like the upgrades of this ship, definitely, if you want to spend the coal to get the spotter in that first slot, or sorry, is it the second? No, it's first slot. Definitely worth it in my opinion, especially with the generic captain build I have on this thing. When you're taking Eye in the Sky to make your spotter come up more prevalent, you know, more often rather than waiting like 5 minutes, like definitely will help this ship, because the ship is, like I told you, it has no armor, so that's why I believe it can go 36 knots. So you could definitely buff your ship and keep it, you know, make it more relevant, and if it gets up tiered. And I think it's just going to be better off in like multiple situations where this ship can outrange even some battleships, I want to say, like the Vibris Unitas and whatnot. Like it's, and obviously the majority of cruisers just because of that. So yeah, it can definitely work in its favor. So yeah, that's definitely a worthy 17,500 coal purchase, especially with a coupon. Like, why not? Like, make the ship even better. Or those that, like myself, that have accumulated over 400,000 coal or whatever, just like, yeah, just might as well on this thing, because we don't get out. Obviously, main armaments is probably your best bet. So you know, and then that second slot, I take the engine repair time and rudder shift time, because that's just death sentence for most cruisers, especially at this tier when like you have like 4 or 5 battleships every game, which again creeped into high tier now too, because why not make cruisers more relevant unless they have a smoke screen and super heal, you know, why not? But yeah, like the ship is it's a blast to play at low or to middle tier. I guess this is middle tier, right? Play it at middle tier. It's fun with those laser beam like shells. Like yeah, it's super fun when you shit on and dumpster DDs and cruisers. Couldn't recommend it enough. So I don't think I actually. I think I can count on my hands how many times I've actually, you know, utilized the torpedoes on this thing. Like the torpedoes 4 kilometers. Like you're not using torpedoes, so please don't go charging in there, you know, and utilizing your torpedoes. These things are basically last resort torps. So yeah, just don't do that. Like I don't want to talk about them because like I always find the player base uses torpedoes when they don't need to. Like prime example being the IGN cruiser line. Like why? Your guns are fine. Use your guns. It's your main damage dealer. So, but yeah. So basically reading the map now, like I can be a little bit more aggressive. Position only pops up, and all I had was AP, but I can still nuke them with AP because the shell velocity and landing all my shells and how accurate it is with that 2.0 Sigma and whatnot. Like it's great shit. Kind of a misplay here. I should have known he had torpedoes, and I don't know why I just didn't keep my course. But yeah, so like we're gonna get a couple here, which rather sucks. And of course, you know, when it rains it pours. You got the submarine thing in you, so that's awesome. So I just gotta respect, because I know that the Arizona, you know, whenever that American BB over there is right there, so I just gotta be careful of that. Yeah, there we go, like pinpoint the superstructure on the Omono and get him out of the game, not bad. But yeah, like, again, like a Farragut, you know, at that range, you know, load and lock the HE, and I think we still get like 2 shell hits on him. Too bad we didn't get the kill, but like, again, most cruisers are just not going to be able to do that at this tier, I find, just because they have floaty shells, right? So, super fun, you know, super fun little boat here. But yeah, like, you know, like again, okay, big counter to this ship. Obviously, besides aircraft carriers and battleships, I mean submarines. But this is, you know, this is going into what I was talking about before. Like, why would you even choose defensive AA when you have hydro? Like, this is why. I feel like you're gonna get into, not that you have to, but you're gonna find yourself in situations more so when hydro is just gonna be more useful than your defensive AA. So why would you take defensive AA on this thing? So, but yeah, so make sure, you know, I keep in mind where that battleship is, knowing my positioning. I think he's so fixated on my other targets that it's like, okay, so I don't really need to be too worried about him. But yeah, there comes Farragut. Do the old turret by turret shot. Make sure I pinpoint my my target there, and I was able to pick him up. So perfect. With that, put him away. So, but yeah, like this is you know, this boat is definitely something worth picking up in my opinion. Like, is she competitive? Like, I don't know, last time we had a tier 6 ranked, but I mean, would I utilize her? I might play her game or two, depending on how, you know, if she was hot or not. I just think with the, you know, obviously you have no heal and all that. You know, obviously, I mean, most cruisers aren't going to have a heal on this tier anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, like, she can definitely dish out the pain with her guns, which is the main selling point. So obviously the sub pings right beneath me. That's awesome. Thank you, dude. Letting me know exactly where he is, give or take, right roughly in the area. So I'm setting out my ship-based depth charges, which, like, if you're getting a depth charge kill in your Molotov, like, that's a joke, because the this thing is not known for its ASW. So, like, not that most warships are, but there's the oil splash, so I know right after, you know, my 4 seconds up on my reload, I'm gonna pop it again. Like, it's crazy to me. I don't know, like, obviously this guy's learning submarines. It's early on in, maybe, I don't know. I didn't look at his stats or how many times he's played the ship, so I can only assume at this tier. I actually get 2 direct hits, which is crazy. I devastatingly struck him, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I'll take it. Why not, right? Why not? Um, but yeah, we're having a game. Having a game in the Molotov, which I told you, man. Like this, like again, only like 48,000 damage. Like I don't know. I want to say I'm just like cleaning up and picking up the garbage here, but like again, the damage she dishes out, it's like that effective damage that I see. I'm not like talking about the submarine at this point. I'm just talking about with her guns. But like it's not damage per second, and it's not like hounding the enemy. Like it's definitely utilizing both ammo choices on this thing, which makes her fun for me. Which like I wish Soviet cruisers could do that in top tier, but they just can't. You know, the Nevsky's got a pre-kite, and like the Moskva and Petrov really have to bow tank. Same with the Stalingrad. Like you just can't sail around freely because the turning circle and the rudder shift is just freaking garbage. Like so, just trying to utilize blind fire, kind of justifying where, maybe predicting where his location is going to be. So obviously swing and a miss on 2 shots there, and but he eventually pops up here, and I'm able to lock onto his target. I get a salvo off right before he disengages of a smoke screen, and just because of that shell velocity and accuracy, I can snipe him, and I got him. Like, was that 3,500 damage plus? Like, I don't even know. Like, it's awesome. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. So the ship is it's fun. It's a blast. We got 7 kills, like only 51,000. Like again, it's effective damage. It's effective damage. So to sum up here in the last game, how I would play this ship, what do I do, how would I rate her? Like again, you're not pushing in with this ship. No cruiser, especially at this tier in the game, realistically, like you shouldn't be pushing in with your ship. You have to read the map. I can be a little bit more aggressive here because they only have 2 enemy ships. We've eliminated the enemy destroyer, and look what I'm doing. I'm going to disengage with this battleship. Watch his turrets. Basically not going to turn out quite yet. Making sure he fires first, making sure his turrets are on another target, and then I'm going to turn out and utilize my range to my advantage. Like that's how you're going to beat these battleship players. Adjusting my speed, right? These are all things that you just know as playing a cruiser. You should already know to do this stuff, right? But I see so many cruiser players just full send. Like, what are you doing? Don't full send. Use your brain, right? It's methodical. It's a little. You have to think. You have to think a little bit when you play this ship. So, but yeah, like use your range to your advantage. Utilize both ammo types. Don't just stick with HE. Like, you might get more, I guess, consistent damage when you have HE, but the potential you can have when you load the AP, even on a broadside battleship like upper deck, like you can still chunk them, man. It's like the shell velocity plus the damage to AP and all that in the pen, like it's incredible. It's incredible stuff you can do with this thing. So, and yeah, I mean, if I'm rating her out of 10, like this is definitely like a 7.5, 8 in my opinion. Super fun at low tier. Like, yeah, it's dog shit when you get up tiered by double up tier or whatever to tier 8. Still do stuff, but not to mention double up tier, +2 -2 matchmaker kind of bites ass. I mean, I'd love to see +1 -1, but yeah, like you just got to think a little bit more when you're up in these situations. So but yeah, like Molotov, it's a great boat. I couldn't recommend her enough to you guys. I think she's in the premium shop, but like down the road, if she ever comes to the game and for coal or in a battle pass or anything like that, like why not? Like I mean, she's awesome. I think she's a great ship. Like you could pick her up and have some fun with her and play her. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't at this point. Why you wouldn't play her? So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.